There he is, backing in. Oh, bit of a struggle today. Could be a tough show. Sorry, Mark Madryga.
The other question I had was whether you had like a full tattoo.
We are live, everybody. But we are also on tape. Foulds is on his phone. It's episode 48. The Kamloops Last week. Greg the engineer. Bill at the controls. Chris Foulds. Episode 48.
48, there you go.
June 6th.
June 6th.
Always a good day to look back and...
D-Day today.
Yes.
This is the, I think the 78th anniversary of the invasion of Normandy by Canada, Britain, and U.S. that turned the tide against Hitler. And basically led to the Allies winning the Second World War. We have a good story online at kamloopsthisweek.com from 2019 about a veteran who was there, who talked about the horror that it was. He survived it. Obviously, we talked to him, but it's a good read. It's really, really chilling, and it's kind of pertinent in today's geopolitical world with everything that's going on in Europe right now with Russia and Ukraine, and it's in danger of spilling over into a larger war.
Well, it's a good start to a great show. We have Global BC Chief Meteorologist Mark Madryga.
Stand to be corrected, but I think Mark is going to set a record for being the first guest to appear twice on our show.
That's true. He might actually be mad, maybe tearing a hole in his green screen because he's no longer the #1 hit king on our show, though.
No, he was.
Somehow, Rust Valley Restorers, the episode that they were in, has just usurped him. So maybe Mark will be upset about that. We'll ask him. We'll ask him how he feels. Also, Frank Caputo endorses Jean Charest. You're going to talk about that and Above the Folds.
Yep, we're going to talk about. It's a monumental decision by our MP. Because it's such a polarizing leadership race, and we'll talk about why I think it's a great idea.
I'm going to put a wrap on the Blazers season, talk to Shaun Clouston for about 25 minutes. I didn't talk at all. He talked the whole time. We'll deal with the big juicy items, which Greg the engineer, have you heard about this trade, Connor Bedard? It's juicy. It's more of a rumor at this point, but we'll see what Shaun Clouston says about that. And Dylan Garand, he's basically done. He basically says goodbye to us later on in the Tattle of Hastings, so we'll get there. First of all, let's tee up, Mark, the weather. What's going on here with the flood potential?
We thought we'd have him on this week. We have spoken, we have contacted the River Forecast Center, which is the official government agency that forecasts the flood situation, the snowpack situation, and all the variables as to whether or not we're going to have, a once in a 20-year flood, a once in a 100-year flood. And the city of Kamloops is also in contact with them much more deeply. So in the last couple of newspapers and online and in other media in town, we've had a lot of stories about possible flooding this year. And because the snowpack is so high and the melt is so slow, it hasn't melted yet, all of it, their forecast is that we may have flooding events in Kamloops like we did in 1999. 1999 was the last sort of significant year of flooding in town.
This was 2012.
This was 12, and this is walking...
Riverside Park.
Yeah, this is just walking along the path. It's a little bit into the parking lot behind Sandman Center. Nothing major. I mean, it did get into people's basements along the river and stuff like that, but nothing massive. Like 99... this water went all the way through the park up to the picnic tables. Okay, so it was big, and I was in Abbotsford at the time, and there was the whole Sumas Prairie was flooded from the Nooksack then as well. Before that, 72 and 1948, and then 1894 are the other three big years, and they're all on this pillar down in the park.
Is there any way we can kind of avoid this disaster, though?
Well, that's the thing, and the thing is, Mark's going to come on to talk about. He's not going to talk about the forecasting of flooding. That's not his expertise. But he's going to talk about the weather forecast, what the weather conditions are going to be like, and from that we can maybe see how it's going to be. We have to rely on Mother Nature, but since '99. In 72 and 48, there's been a lot of mitigation work done. I mean, a lot of dikes were being built. People now know how, if a flood's coming, what to do. Get the sandbags early, maybe move your stuff up. Maybe don't build in floodplains. A lot of building codes have changed since 72 and 99 because now we know where the flooding is prone to be. With climate change, there's going to be more flooding. So it shouldn't be as bad as even 99 because of the work done between then and now.
There's been some miserable days in June, Greg. How do you keep warm on a cold day, Greg? What do you do to keep warm?
Just a lot of blankets.
A lot of blankets.
Yeah.
That's the PG. I would ask Mike that question. It would probably be some kind of pineapple shirt type answer about how he keeps warm. But I know how I keep warm. by drinking McDonald's coffee exclusively. Can you do ba-da-ba-ba-ba for us?
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Okay, wow.
Even better than
Great
Mike did.
substitution. And the hand clap there from Bill. Okay, what I also do when my clothes get drenched is I go every time, I just buy a new dryer from Gord's. Just go straight there, or I get mine fixed because they do that too. Check this commercial out right now.
Don't want the 9-hour cycle, please.
Freaking $500 hydro bill, piece of trash.
I need to speak to Gord on the 9er.
Hey, no, I'm actually Steve, the new owner.
First things first, pal. You should probably update your sign. Number 2, my dishwasher is tangled again. The 9-hour cycle, hydro bill through the roof. You guys don't fix appliances, I know that, so I need a new one.
We actually do fix appliances, but if you want, I can show you some new ones first and have a look. You got a price in mind?
Money is not an obstacle for me.
Money's definitely an obstacle. He's the cheapest guy in Kamloops. Ain't that right, Darby?
Well, this here is going to be your Cadillac model, top of the line. This is our middle-of-the-road dishwasher, just a great dishwasher at a great price. This is our budget-friendly model, still a great dishwasher, just at a bit of a lower price.
Price doesn't work for me. Let's see if you can fix mine at home.
Alrighty then. There you go, seems to be good. How's the fridge working?
The fridge is fine, Gord.
It's Steve.
Foulderdash?
Foulderdash.
Foulderdash?
Okay, Chris Foulds has no idea this one's coming. Again, it was manna from heaven late last night. I thought, Madryga's coming on the show. I want to hit this one out of the park. Like, we need to have an unbelievable show. I was disappointed. There's going to be no Foulderdash because you had been quiet. You'd been silent on social media.
It's not planned. It just happens.
Last night, the last thing I do, I'm scrolling right before I go to sleep. Oh, there's Fouldsy coming in hot. So this segment, in case you don't know, we combine your love of the English language with your tendency to run hot on social media. And so Jean Charest, he comes on. It fits in with the show, too. He just tweets, determined to win the Conservative leadership race, a fairly kind of run-of-the-mill political tweet. He says, this race is for you. You are the ones with the power to decide what kind of party we want to be. And here comes Theo Fleury. Okay, and this is where you already don't like him very much.
I think he needs help.
So he says, the only way you win is if Klaus wants you to win. And he tweets a picture of Klaus Schwab, the executive chairman of the World Economic Forum.
Yep.
And then in comes Fouldsy. Okay, Theo, period. That's right away you know you're upset, the Theo and the period right there. You have gone beyond embarrassing yourself. You have no insight into politics. You have no clue what your conservative brethren support now or in the past. You are a concussed conspiracy theorist, yet help.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Well, Theo Fleury was also just featured on Twitter because he was interviewed by another jackass, Tucker Carlson from Fox News, who gave this guy a platform to spew all sorts of nonsense. Theo Fleury went as far as to intimate, it's hard to tell, but if I watch it again, that these shootings are planned. That everything is a plan from the World Economic Forum and Klaus and the boys to take us over. People have been talking about this since the 70s or before. My brother-in-law, who, a great guy but a little crazy, he gave me a book to read. It's called None Dare Call Conspiracy by Neil something. This was written in the 70s. And it's the same bullshit you hear now and about, oh, they're taking our guns and they're taking our freedoms and our rights. And they keep saying this. And every time I meet one of these people, I say, when's it going to happen? They're like the Jehovah's Witnesses. When I grew up in my family, a bunch of my family was Jehovah's Witnesses. And every 3 or 4 years, they said the end of the world's coming. And it never came. And, oh, we got it wrong. It's going to come in 5 more years. 5 more years. He embarrassed himself on Tucker Carlson. He was talking about how this is the most corrupt government ever, and all Canadians are tired of it. And
he actually believes this stuff too.
Yes.
Like, this is.
And I'm thinking, well, if all Canadians really think Trudeau is in cahoots with all these people, how come every time there's an election, Trudeau wins? Like, that's weird. Like, I don't vote. You know I don't vote. I don't have any great admiration for Trudeau. He's a shadow of his father, who was a great politician. But, you know, he might be the least worst of a bad bunch. But the thing is, I always talk to these people who are like so anti-Trudeau, you know, the ones with those crass signs and
F Trudeau.
And I say, and they're like, nobody likes him. Well, if nobody likes him, who the hell's voting for him? You know, he's winning. So get out there and get your people to vote in whomever you want in. But stop with this nonsense. Like, this is all just planned. I mean, you know, Fleury thinks the pandemic was planned. I mean, once you get to that point, you know he's a wingnut and he does need help.
So Fleury Fury, that was the Foulderdash word of the day, but you also backed that up right away. We don't have too much time for this, but we will touch on it because Ted Cruz piped up. And he talked about Joe Biden and electricity in Texas.
Did I say something about him?
Oh yeah, you did, because I would have put cruise missile would be the other word.
Yes,
because you sent the cruise missile at him. You said, well, Grandpa Munster.
I forgot about this. I must have had a couple of glasses of wine.
You can always flee to Cancun, maintaining the cowardly cruise connection that leaves constituents, a lot of C's in there, to freeze and sucks up to a president who insults his wife. And then another punchy ending, Mañana, Theodore. So what can you tell us about that one?
I don't remember that one. I could have been into the boxed wine at that point. But Ted Cruz pisses me off too. And he's a Canadian. He was born in Calgary.
That's a shame.
And you know, the sad thing about Ted Cruz is that he is, by all accounts, a brilliant man. Like, he is so smart. He clerked for the greatest Supreme Court justices. I think he was top of his class at Harvard. He's a really smart guy who just, I don't get his callousness, his heartlessness, and his blind ambition. I'll just make this quick, we got to say this. During the 2016 presidential election, the Republican race, he was running to be the Republican candidate, and Donald Trump was like insulting everybody left, right, and center. And during that time, Cruz there's a famous interview where he said Donald Trump is a liar, he's a con man, he's every insult in the book.
Yeah.
And then once Cruz was out and Trump was the man, after Trump insulted his own wife and said that Cruz's father was involved in the assassination of JFK, after all that, the worst one being his wife, Cruz goes up to him like a wimp and just and like with fealty and just please, I need your blessing to stay in power as a senator. He is the worst type of human being, and it's just the worst type of, and he looks like Grandpa Munster from the Munsters.
The fleeing thing, my buddy Robbie, we had the fires going on in Kamloops, and I just went to the coast for a weekend. He called me Kamloops Ted Cruz for fleeing Kamloops. Okay, that was fun. Let's move on to Above the Folds. Frank Caputo, Jean Charest, takeaways.
Right. This is our MP, Frank Caputo from the Conservative Party of Canada. He was elected last September? It seems like such a long time ago. I think he's there with his lovely wife and his son there watching, or no, his assistant watching the results.
The results came in. That's a Dave Eagles. I love that Dave Eagles photo. This was election night.
There's another photo of Frank and his wife, and they're embracing. So he has come out and endorsed Jean Charest for leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, which is a pretty big deal because there's a 4-person race for leadership to succeed Aaron O'Toole, who was turfed after the election. And the perceived frontrunners are Pierre Poilievre, Jean Charest, and then there's 2 others. There's the mayor of Brampton, and then Leslyn Lewis. The 2 frontrunners are Poilievre and Charest. And on the weekend, just the weekend that passed, both of them claim they've signed up enough members to win. And the Conservative Party itself has said that they have a record number of sign-ups. So a lot of people are interested in this race. A lot of people who want to change in Parliament, and a lot of people who want to help shape the culture of the Conservative Party. So he's come out and he has endorsed Charest, whereas a lot of his fellow Conservative MPs in the Okanagan and in this area have endorsed Poilievre.
Right, and he says it's not because he was turned off of Poilievre. That's what Frank Caputo says. I mean, does he have to say that though, right? Because
I think you want to be careful what you say, because if the other guy wins, then you're going to be sort of persona non grata in the caucus. But even if you do support someone else and don't say anything, I mean, you run the risk of of being sort of the odd man out. But I think it's a wise choice for him, not only because I think Charest is a better man. I think Charest is more temperate, and he's not so polarizing, and he won't probably drag the party further to the right that Poilievre seems to want to do.
Does it hurt his support with more right-leaning conservatives by Caputo doing this and supporting Charest because Charest supposedly more centrist?
I don't think so. I mean, you know, if you're a conservative in Canada, in Kamloops, you got a pretty good chance of winning regardless. I mean, he coasted to victory, and I don't think there's any chance that some of those people are going to be offended by him supporting Charest, because who's the alternative? He's not supporting Trudeau or Singh, right? But I think the thing is, Poilievre always attacks Charest as being a liberal, and other people do, but he was never a liberal. He quit as a leader of the Progressive Conservative Party in the 90s to go and lead the Quebec Liberal Party to help save Canada after the referendum. They almost lost. He went in there so there wasn't enough referendum and that Canada would be safe. So basically, Charest is Captain Canada in my mind. He quit his federal gig, ran for the leadership of the Quebec Liberal Party, won it. A couple years later, became premier and settled down that whole independence movement there. He's a hero in my mind, political hero. He went to the Quebec Liberal Party, and now Poilievre and all his minions are saying, you're a liberal. Well, no, the Quebec Liberal Party is nothing to do with the Federal Liberal Party, just like the BC Liberal Party here has nothing to do with the Federal Liberal Party. There was and is no Conservative Party in Quebec. The Liberal Party, like the Liberal Party here, is a coalition of anybody but about separatists in Quebec. So yeah, it's called the Liberal Party, but it has federal conservatives, it has federal liberals, it has federal New Democrats. It's anyone but the separatists. In BC, the BC Liberal Party is basically the Social Credit Party, and it's anybody but the NDP.
You said Poilievre and his minions in that language, and also you sent me his quote about
he's a hypocrite.
Him being a hypocrite for not being a career politician.
Yeah, he's a career politician, and when he was 20, he says that's the biggest thing. He wrote a thing saying, if I was Prime Minister, I would, and in this big essay contest, I think he came in third or something. One of his big points was there should be term limits, and no one should be a career politician and basically sit in the halls of power and enjoy all the luxury. Well, who's doing that for like 25 years? When the guy was 31, he could have quit, went and put his commerce degree to good use, and then wait till he's 65 and get a pension that me and you can only dream about.
Right.
The guy is a grifter.
So if you were a voting Conservative, which you're not, you would be pleased with what Caputo's done here rather than him going and backing Poilievre.
And I think Poilievre, despite the fact that, I mean, he's a smart guy, he's probably the best questioner in question period. He's very good at asking pointed questions and keeping it on. He's very good at staging, social media friendly events. And people always talk about he's got 1,000 people and he's got all these people, and that might give him the leadership, but it doesn't necessarily translate into a win in the general election. Remember, Maxime Bernier was drawing massive crowds when he was going across Canada in the last election for the People's Party of Canada. I have family members who went there wearing the stupid shirts and everything. And he got 5% of the vote. He didn't get one seat. And I predicted that, and I had a bunch of PPC supporters, People's Party of Canada. Yeah, I don't know if it's maybe the same thing. But anyway, they were contacting me online, email, and I had a few calls, and they're like, you mainstream media, you don't know, we'll wait till the election day. We're going to have 50 seats.
Do you
and we're
feel
going to
this
have
the same
50,
way about this one, though? This one feels maybe a bit different.
Well, I'm just saying, what you see on a leadership run or even during an election does not necessarily translate into who's going to vote. I think that if I was Pierre Trudeau or Justin Trudeau, or if I was Jagmeet Singh, I would probably want Poilievre to win because it's probably going to guarantee you're going to stay in power past 2025. I think that kind of populist, sort of antagonistic, polarizing politics plays well to your base, but I don't think it's going to play well to the to Canada as a whole.
The political winds are a-blowing. It's been a tempest time here in Kamloops, and we have the perfect man to come and talk about that. Mark Madryga from Global BC in Last Week This Week, brought to you by New Leaf Produce Market. Mark Madryga, thanks for joining us. Before we get into the weather, you've been such a supporter of Kamloops, such a supporter of the Blazers. I follow your Twitter account. You were at games in Langley. You came up here to Kamloops, but I want to hold your feet to the fire for 1 second here, okay? Because you had, in one photo, a Blazers jersey on and then a Giants hat. Yeah. How do you account for this?
Yeah, that was like blasphemy.
Well, let's just say the game in Langley a few weeks ago, one of the games, the Giants officials were there and they greeted us at the door, the whole family and everything, and they presented me with the hat and said, please wear it. And I did for a while. I mean, I lived out here on the coast, so, but the heart was right there, the Blazers. But I put the hat on for a little while. So you caught me. But hey, guys, morning coffee.
Oh,
there we go. Totally redeems himself.
Forecast-wise, first of all, 99, I was in Abbotsford working at the newspaper then, and the Nooksack overflowed, as it always does there, and much of Sumas Prairie was underwater like it was this past November, but it didn't last as long. It kind of went down, and parts of the highway were closed for shorter periods of time. And before that, 72 was the big year, and then 48 in 1894. So what do you remember from 99, and what do you see going forward with respect to the forecast?
Okay, well, what I remember from 99, and I remember 72 even better, because I was living in Kamloops. I was a 9-year-old. Let me just quickly brush on 72. I was a super keen weather observer in those days in grade 4. It was all about the weather and, of course, the weather affecting river levels. So I would ride my bike, lived in North Kamloops. There was a slough adjacent to the Thompson River. I didn't go right. Well, I went down to the river once in a while and looked over and saw the level rising, but it was that slough level that was correlated with the river level. So I'd go down there and I'd take measurements twice a day, every day, back
cool.
in June of 72. And it was, I'll never forget it. And I wish I had a picture. My mom has pictures in her photo album at home, but me standing beside the MacArthur Island, of course, underwater, then Riverside Park underwater in 72. So that's the one I remember very well. 99, I was living at the coast, but I did come up and saw Mom and Dad, and I think I did a little trip to Kamloops because of the river level rising and got some pictures. So in 99 and 72, of course, the snow stayed in the mountains a lot longer than typically in the spring. And 99 was a particularly late heat wave in the middle of June. It was mid-30s, sort of let's say right in the middle of the month of June. So it was a late peak in the river level in 99. I think it was the 24th or 25th, so later than now for sure. So I remember that well. 99, a little lower than 72, and of course my dad used to show me the markers from 1948, and now we have the marker in Riverside Park, of course, showing that ridiculous 1894 level that would have just put all of downtown Kamloops underwater. Jeez. So 99 was later. We had that heat wave. Now, looking ahead this year, of course, it's been pretty much behaving itself, meteorologically speaking, the last while. We have had the rain on the last few days, of course, and that's an issue because we'll see the river come up steadily over the next few days because of that rain. But thankfully, we haven't had any really hot weather yet. Now, one stat here, we have just set a record for the most consecutive days in Kamloops with below 25 degrees Celsius. So it's been below 25 for 264 straight days. It may get to 25 tomorrow. To crack that little record that we've set, but it just shows you how cool it has been this spring. Moving forward, I see a few temperatures, again, maybe 25, 26 tomorrow. And of course, the mountains will be colder, but you get the idea. It's going to warm up tomorrow, come back a little Wednesday, Thursday, but nothing really hot that I see for quite a while. Nothing on the charts for the next 10, 15 days that show mid-30s, for example, which would really bring that snow down, that snow melt down to the river. So, summary, a decent scenario setting up, no big rains the next few days. We may get wetter Friday night again, but I don't see any scorching temperatures on my charts for a while.
I just want to know, what should we be hoping for as far as weather, and what do we not want to see to help mitigate the potential floods?
Yeah, again, we don't want any extreme heat now for the next few weeks. Slowly bring that, melt that snow and bring it down into the system, which is, the weekend rain was not a good thing. We'll see how that affects the river. I've seen some computer modeling that's not showing an extreme rise in river levels based on any of that rain, nor is it showing an extreme river level rise based on the temperatures ahead. So yeah, what we want is, say in Kamloops, low 20s, maybe mid 20s at most for temperature. Of course, it's cooler on the mountains when you get those temperatures down low. But certainly we don't want an extended heat wave, 3, 4, 5 days of, say, mid 30s in Kamloops, which would really melt that snow aloft. And again, we don't want any significant rain. So what I see the next few days, pretty optimum, not really hot, and only a few showers again Wednesday.
Going forward, as far as how far forward can you see, and what are the chances of a summer being really, really hot, or how far ahead can you see to the layman person?
You know, to be fairly precise, 5 days, depends on the weather scenario. Sometimes it's less than that. Sometimes it's the next hour if you're getting thunderstorms pop up, here and there. But 5-day forecast, maybe 7, the accuracy drops a bit. But we do get charts out to, I can access charts right now on my computer for the next 2 weeks that give me slight confidence, not a lot, but of course Environment Canada puts out 3 months forecasts.
Right.
June, July, August. Yeah, June, July, August is out there for everyone to see. And what it's showing is overall over that 3-month period in southwestern BC, including the south coast, and it looks like the Thompson area, overall June, July, and August, below average temperatures, above average precipitation. Now, that's an average, an overall average. That doesn't mean there won't be heat waves for several days mixed in during that stretch, but the prediction from the computers is a little wetter and a little cooler than average, combining June, July, and August. I guarantee we won't get a heat dome like last. A heat dome or that's the new buzz phrase.
Yeah,
strong high pressure ridge. Like last late June when it hit 47.
Yeah.
Okay, I was talking about being a bit of a weather geek back when I was a 9-year-old. Well, I followed temperatures since I was almost born in Kamloops, and it got to 41, let's say 42 degrees one summer, and we waited and waited and waited. It's never going to get to 42 again, ever, never. Last year 47, so statistically off the charts, it was ridiculous.
That's right.
So that happening again this summer, I would say. But I'm sure we'll get our 30s and maybe one or two few days over 40. I'm sure we'll get something close to that at times, but when, it's hard to say.
Well, I think based on last year's heat event and last year's smoke, 3 of the last 5 years, I think most people will take a cooler, wetter, as long as we get a few really hot days in there, because that's why people like to live here. So,
What's your favorite weather day? Like, what's your favorite temperature?
For me?
Yeah.
Certainly not 47. Even now, I live in South Surrey down here on the coast. We hit 42 in my backyard.
Jeez.
Yeah, and you add some humidity to that down here last year. No, but I loved growing up, 34, 35 on those nice hot Kamloops days. And I was a kid then, not so much now maybe. So my comfortable temperature, I'd say, would be 26 and sunny and low humidity. About 80 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
One more kind of left field question. What do you miss most about Kamloops? Like, you come up here, I saw you hanging out with maybe some of your old friends and taking pictures. When you come up here, is there anything that kind of jogs your memory about things you really miss or fond memories growing up kind of thing?
How long do you have? I should be here all day. No, my heart's in Kamloops for sure. I can't go back to when I was a kid in Kamloops, obviously. I'm a few years away from retirement. I lean toward moving back. I love the outdoor life there. It's slower paced, of course. You still have all the amenities of Kamloops, but less traffic. A lot less traffic and a lot slower paced lifestyle and great people too. So there's so many things and the parks and the river. It's just all there. I just love the city so much, the area.
Any final words, Mark? We thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, this is right in my element here, talking about the weather and about river levels. This is something I followed as a kid, as I say, and since then. And yeah, let's just hope that the current scenario of not really hot, scorching stretches of weather, and I don't see any big time rain for the next week. Let's hope that scenario comes, because it will slowly melt the snow in the mountains. And sure, the levels are going to rise in the rivers, but let's hope it kind of just stays at a moderate space there and not too high.
Thanks a lot. We promise we're not going to bother you too often, but we do appreciate when you come on and give us your time. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Okay, that was amazing again. Mark Madryga doing what he does, and
he's a great guy. We don't know him, right? We don't know.
No.
Him. We just reached out to him back in November because we thought there was the atmospheric rivers. So we said, let's get Mark Madryga on there because everyone knows Mark. And
it's usually not a good thing for what's going on in the city weather-wise when he comes on.
When he comes on,
some kind of a disaster
but
coming.
I remember I had the last time I sent him a message by Twitter. I think on it was on a Sunday. No, it was a Tuesday night, and and the next morning he says, "Sure, I can do it." And again, this time it was on the weekend, and he says, "Yeah, hey, So he always makes time, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the Title of Hastings. Talk about the Blazers. Like I was saying earlier, I talked to Shaun Clouston probably about 25 minutes. I'm going to post the whole interview. And when I talked to him after the season, Game 7 had just ended, he was kind of sullen and solemn, as you'd expect, and not really ready to reflect. He was definitely ready to reflect when I talked to him yesterday. I'll post the whole thing online. I'll write a story. You can find that on KamloopsThisWeek.com. I thought we should deal with just kind of the juicier tidbits on this show that even if you're not a huge hockey fan, you might be interested in. So that's Connor Bedard. He is basically the most heralded prospect since Connor McDavid. He's 100 points as a 16-year-old in the league. He's from North Vancouver. He's in Regina right now. So rumors are kind of swirling here. Might he want to come to Kamloops that has the Memorial Cup now? And is that a trade even a possibility? So it would be the mega deal of all deals.
It would be.
I mean, he would be on the same team as the Western Hockey League Player of the Year, Logan Stankoven, and the team is already pretty much stacked up front, and it maybe just would put them over the top. But Shaun Clouston, is that even a possibility? I asked him about that, so here's his answer right here.
I think a lot of times it's just speculation. When you say rumblings, I think that's potentially what it is. There's a lot of people that, will look at all these different things. I think there's probably a little bit more put into that speculation. Regina is a real first-class organization. I've known John Paddock for a number of years, and Connor Bedard had a real impressive career in Regina with Hockey Canada, from Regina, the last 2 years. So that's the first part of that. Regina's a real good place to play juniors. They've got a great organization and great people there.
Yeah.
If for some reason he was somehow at some point available, then of course he's one of the best in the world. Not only his age group, but in junior hockey. So it would be something that we would have high interest. I just think it's really early and it's mostly speculation right now.
The first thing that I asked Shaun about in my question was, well, had you heard the rumblings that maybe he's not so happy there in Regina? And he said that maybe is probably just more speculation than people think. And he made sure to really compliment Regina's organization and John Paddock. But he also left the door open. So the door is open to that trade happening. Yeah, and Shaun Clouston, he talked a lot again. He was talking about don't buy into the narratives about us being too small of a team. He talked about that. He talked about how goaltending is the most important position. And I talked to Clouston before I talked to Grant, and Clouston said, we basically think he's gone. But if we hear anything differently from the Rangers in the next month, that will change the way we think. I got a call from Grant about 4 hours later, and he said, the Rangers and I are on the same page. I want to move on, and I think they're on the same page. And then he said his goodbyes to Kamloops.
That's right, he did.
And you can hear that right here.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning to play pro next season. I think, myself and the Rangers are kind of on the same page a little bit there, that it's, time for me to move on. Obviously, there is that Memorial Cup back in Kamloops, which, would be great to be a part of. But, for me personally, I think, it would be best for me in this point in my career to, move on to that next level and then keep developing a higher level there. And, I think that's definitely the plan for next season. Yeah, it's been awesome 4 years. I'm unbelievably grateful for my time in Kamloops. I think, when I came in, I was just, a young kid with, big expectations of myself. And, now I am where I am today. It's crazy how fast the time flies. And like you said, I think a huge part of that is Dan DePalma. He's been huge for me in my last 4 years. And, honestly, he's my best friend now. It's just, someone I'll have for the rest of my life. And, just the city of Kamloops, it was unbelievable playing there. And, I consider it my home now. I definitely like to live there one day when I'm older. So that's a pretty cool thing to, have. And, I definitely look back at my time in Kamloops with, fond memories with all my teammates and all the people I met. And, I wouldn't have changed it for anything.
Thank our sponsors today, Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. We can't do it without them. Also, next week, back in the hot seat, it's Herman and New Leaf Produce Market. For Bill, for Greg the engineer, for Magic Mike, who's AWOL today, for Chris Foulds, I'm Marty Hastings, and we'll see you last week.
Last week.